My most vivid memory of that entire collapse of the Gay Pride event was that as the editor of the Gazette, we had just run a big spread on the upcoming events, the parade and the festival, and I had used the word, quoting the then director, or the head guy, gargantuan, to be a gargantuan event, not the kind of word you see in the headlines every day of the week. And so people were kind of making fun of me for using that in the headline. And then, within days, they said, we're broke. We can't go on. You should have run the story a week earlier. We would have sold more tickets in advance, and that would have saved it. So, as we've talked before, it was a loose association of people, and there wasn't really an infrastructure of professional events planners, or the board had would just activate every year and then kind of disband. So there was no structure. The collapse happened as editor of the paper. I was in contact with community leaders, and we didn't want to just say we're not having a parade this year. The parade is the biggest annual event of the year. It's the most inclusive. It's the most fun. I loved Gay Pride, and so there were some things that were going to happen. There were already volunteers. The date was set. The community was aware, of the parade date and things like that. When Chris Shaw said, go ahead, we'll do the festival anyway, he picked up the cost for the setting up the booths and things around the old WCPC on the west side of the street. So we just jumped in. We were immediately committed to going forward with the parade. We were going to scale it back, but we were going to have a parade and a festival, and we did. And I remember being down at WCPC and setting up the booths, and it was dusty, and we were moving pallets, and it was just strictly volunteers. And the event has a lot of community support, a lot of energy on its own. People just came. That's what makes a parade. A lot of us knew each other. Neil Good called me. Neil had been in 1988. He had the previous year in '87 run for city council and lost by a narrow margin the primary. He had been a longtime aide to county supervisor Leon Williams, and had worked in the travel industry and had friends and strong support there. He was a professional man. This wasn't, he called me, other people were already involved. There was a kind of a renewed commitment to public service. We were going to put this together for the community. It wasn't just about what we wanted to see on stage or which group we wanted to be highlighted in the parade. I think we were already thinking of a year-round board that would work on the parade year-round and the festival and be publicly accountable. And okay, it's 1988, so we'd already been seriously organizing around AIDS for 4 or 5 years. The community had moved beyond, or was beginning to move beyond, kind of the bars being the core of community social life. Now there had been numerous political fundraisers, and the community was active and aware around HIV and AIDS. We wanted to make change. We knew we could raise money. We knew when you raised money you had to be publicly accountable if you wanted to continue to do that. And the people that joined the board had those skill sets. We were prepared to answer questions, keep track of the money, bring on the help that we needed, articulate our plans, and those things gradually all came together. And Pride became, in the course of a few years, couple of years really, a much more professional organization. The people on the board were had full-time jobs, registered nurses or government staffers or private sector, and there wasn't no one, no one was kind of interested in benefiting themselves. We wanted continuity, and we wanted the board to take responsibility for the annual event and the organization, and be able to report to the public. This is about a community event, the most diverse, the largest, and we wanted it to be represented well. We wanted it to be a star in our social life, something that we could all be proud of, that visitors would come from out of town. Other cities were doing much larger events and had year-round boards, and there was a statewide pride organization. So the whole thing was becoming kind of more professional, and we wanted San Diego to catch up. Even in that day, and I forget what the tickets used to be, but thousands of people would line up to get into the festival grounds, and I think I told you before, a lot of it was all cash. There were tens of thousands of dollars to be counted. We took that very seriously, and made a financial report to the community. Joe Mayer was meticulous about all that, and conscientious, and a person of deep fiscal integrity. This was not a guy who wanted to walk out with a few extra bucks in his pocket because cash is easy to handle. We had checks and balances, and he used accepted accounting and bookkeeping techniques to be responsible for all of that. So it was a big change. And of course, with accountability, we realized how much money came into Pride, and that it was our responsibility to keep track of it and to use it for the benefit of the community in establishing the next year's event. And then it wasn't too long after that where we realized we could afford to give grants to community organizations. We were able to stage the festival. People did attend, but it sent some shockwaves through the board, and we realized our whole year-round budget depended on the festival gate and the admissions, and we immediately started thinking about drier months. We had always wanted to be near the Stonewall anniversary. But so did everyone else. So did Los Angeles and San Francisco and Long Beach. So the idea, and as I said, there was a statewide Pride organization. All the parade groups were starting to talk about a summer schedule where folks who wanted to could travel from city to city. So we eventually wound up all picking different dates: Palm Springs, Long Beach, San Francisco, et cetera, and San Diego, and we jumped to July, which worked out well for us. It was my favorite volunteer job ever. I loved being on the Pride board. I had been a volunteer and joined the board with Neil and Jerry, Renee Ricketts, and Vertez Burks. A lot of other people, Larry. I can't remember them all. The board was probably 15 or so people, I think. The thing I remember was the board had a common commitment to be responsible to the community. We considered it, the Pride organization, a public trust. We were independent. We weren't then affiliated with the center or any single organization. It was a diverse board. I think we were pioneers in that, and it was a board that there was a lot of mutual respect, a lot of professionalism. We were people who were committed to having a good event every year that the community could be proud of, and we were able to articulate that message. I think we were all proud of the work we were doing. It was an extremely collegial board. Even when there was disagreements, there wasn't the feuding, the public criticisms that there would be when people broke off into factions. We were going to run this in an adult way, and we did.